Hi, my name is Jarosław Kosaty. I'm a strategist at PKO Bank Polski.
Last week's brought stabilization of euro PLN, which continued to fluctuate around the level of 4.40. Neither stronger local data, like current account surplus or better than expected flash GDP reading for second quarter, nor the relatively weaker Eurozone's data versus Polish like GDP or industrial production were able to support Polish currency for longer and break out euro PLN from current consolidation. In our opinion, it suggests that the Polish currency started to look more on the dynamics than only on the macro recovery itself. The initial enthusiasm, driven by an easy rebound of indicators after ending of lockdown, seems to be gradually fading and market attention is slowly shifting towards the most likely path of economic recovery. Amid growing uncertainty with containing the COVID-19 pandemic in the United States and in Europe, and problems in US Congress with passing more fiscal support measures for the economy, any further path of economic development becomes increasingly uncertain, which limits ability of PLN to appreciate. On the other hand, incentives for PLN depreciation currently seems too weak to drive euro PLN significantly higher. Although we do not predict very strong incentives for significant PLN depreciation to occur in coming weeks, we do see European rising to 4.43 by the end of August. Governmental amendment to the 2020 budget, which will be sent to Parliament soon, proposes an approximate 109 billion PLN budgetary deficit. Rising public debt per GDP should negatively affect investment sentiment towards the zloty. The NBP is continuing its monetary assistance to the economy by providing liquidity to the local financial system through intense domestic asset purchases. These kind of activities gradually increase Polish M3 aggregate and thus exert negative pressure on the Polish zloty value. Finally, we expect that the compromise in US Congress on further direct fiscal support to American economy will be reached soon, which should take off some of the dollar weakness. The return of capital to United States, in a result of confidence rebuilt towards the dollar, should at least partially soar emerging markets and thus weaken PLN. Let's take a closer look on these factors. As you can see from this chart, changes of Polish public debt per GDP affect euro-PLN exchange rate fluctuations. Polish government recently approved roughly 109 billion PLN budgetary deficit in an amendment to this year's budget. The rise of public debt per GDP resulting from this amendment should negatively affect investment sentiment towards the zloty in coming weeks. As the interest rates in Poland are already close to zero levels, the National Bank of Poland additionally supports the economy by intense purchases of assets on the domestic market. First increase of M3 aggregate in Poland is one of the side effects of the NBP's activity. Although the pressure from this factor is currently still too weak alone to depreciate PLN significantly, however, together with some other local factors and additional external support, it should be sufficient to push euro-PLN exchange rate a few figures higher in coming weeks. In our opinion, the external support for euro-PLN rise may come from the announcement of a compromise in US Congress on the restoration of a direct fiscal support to American economy. The lack of prolongation of this support for August significantly undermined confidence towards the dollar globally, which resulted in a significant outflow of the capital from the United States and strengthening of emerging market currencies. Despite the upcoming US presidential election, both parties in US Congress seem to understand that US economy still requires an additional support from fiscal policy. A partial agreement in this matter, which would guarantee assistance at least till the November presidential elections, seems to be possible in coming weeks. The return of capital to the United States in the aftermath of this kind of agreement in Congress should source some of the capital from the emerging markets and thus additionally help to lift European exchange rate higher. Thank you for your attention.